I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're standing on a golf course. It's one of those sweltering, humid days where your shirt is just, sticking to your back. You're on the back nine, you're tired, and you just teed off on a crucial hole. You watch the ball soar, and for a second it looks good, but then it slices
The
hard.
dreaded
The
slice.
worst. It curves away from the fairway and dives straight into the tall, gnarly, unkempt grass, the rough. You walk over to where the ball landed, and your heart just sinks. The grass is up to your shins. The ball is buried. You look at the green, which feels like it's miles away, and you think, there is no way. There is absolutely no way I'm getting out of this without adding 3 strokes to my score. You're defeated before you even pull a club out of the bag.
It's that moment, isn't it, where the physics of the situation just seem to conspire against you. You look at the facts: tall grass, buried ball, bad angle, and the facts are just screaming, failure.
Exactly. But here's where the story gets interesting. This scenario actually happened to the author of the book we're covering today. He was playing with a pro golfer, and he was doing exactly what I would do, moaning about his bad luck, complaining about the lie, basically writing his obituary for the match. And the pro stops him. He says, "Stop, get down on your hands and knees."
Which, honestly, if my golf coach told me to get on my knees in the rough, I'd look at him like he was crazy.
Right. But the author does it. He gets down in the dirt. And the pro says, "Look at the ball. Really look at it." So he looks. And the pro points out something fascinating. He says, relative to the ground, the ball is sitting at the exact same height as it would be if it were on the fairway. He says, the ball hasn't changed. The ground hasn't changed. The only difference is that the grass is higher around it.
Okay, but
Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't change the fact that the grass is there. It's still an obstacle.
that's what the author thought. But then the pro pulls a single blade of that scary grass and hands it to him. He says, "Chew this." Guys. So the author chews it. It's tender, it's soft, it breaks apart instantly. The pro looks him in the eye and says, "Your club is made of steel. It can cut through this soft grass like a knife through butter. The obstacle isn't the grass. The obstacle is in your head." He told him, "The rough is only mental."
The rough is only mental. Wow. That is such a fantastic opening hook because it encapsulates everything we're going to talk about today. It challenges the whole idea that facts are these immutable walls that stop us. It suggests that often what we think are facts are just, I don't know, optical illusions created by our own fear.
And that brings us to the subject of today's deep dive. We are tackling a book that I think everyone has heard of, even if they haven't actually read it. It's a book that has sold over 15 million copies. It basically invented the modern self-help genre. We are talking about The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale.
This is a titan of a book, published in 1952, and you have to realize just how revolutionary this was at the time. I mean, before this, self-help wasn't really a category in the bookstore. You had philosophy, you had theology, and you had psychology. Peale just sort of smashed them all together.
But Peale wasn't a psychologist, was he? He was a minister.
He was, yeah. He was a minister at the Marble Collegiate Church in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a very specific kind of minister. He didn't want to just stand in a pulpit and preach theology or talk about the afterlife. He viewed himself as a practical mechanic of human nature.
I love that phrase, practical mechanic. It makes it sound like we're all just cars that need a good tune-up.
That's exactly how he saw it. He believed that human beings are these incredible machines that are designed to run efficiently, but we gum up the gears with fear, anxiety, and negativity. He wanted to provide a user manual. He actually partnered with psychiatrists, and we're talking prominent ones like Dr. Carl Menninger, to create a clinic at his church. He wanted to bridge that gap between religious faith and psychological science to solve the gritty, everyday problems people had.
And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We aren't just going to skim the surface and say, think happy thoughts and everything will be fine. That's the caricature of this book, and honestly, it's what I always thought this book was. Just toxic positivity before there was a name for it.
It's easy to dismiss it as that, sure.
Ah.
But when you really get into it, Peale is arguing something much more radical. He's arguing that you can fundamentally change the events of your life, the actual physical reality of your life, by changing the thoughts in your mind. He's saying that thoughts are not just smoke, they're energy. They are things.
He makes some massive promises, too. He says if you follow this manual, you get peace of mind, improved health, and a ceaseless flow of energy. He basically says defeat is optional.
Which is such a bold claim. Defeat is optional. I mean, most of us feel like defeat is inevitable sometimes.
Exactly. So let's pop the hood and look at the engine. The first big concept Peale tackles is what he identifies as the primary barrier to success. He calls it the inferiority complex.
This is huge, and Frankly, it's timeless. It doesn't matter that he wrote this in the 50s. He describes people who are competent, smart, capable, but they are paralyzed because they just don't believe in themselves. He tells this incredibly compelling story about a businessman who came to see him.
Okay, set the scene for us. Who is this guy?
So imagine a man about 40 years old. He's successful on paper, but he shuffles into Peele's office looking like he's carrying a 100-pound weight on his back. He's slumped over, he's anxious, and he tells Peele, "I'm done for."
Done for. That is such a heavy phrase. It sounds so final.
It was desperate. The man explained that he had a massive business deal on the line, the kind of deal that could define a career. He said, "If I succeed, it means everything. If I fail, I'm finished." But here's the kicker. The problem wasn't the deal itself. The numbers were fine. The product was fine. The problem was his internal monologue. He told Peele, "I have a terrible disbelief in myself. I just don't believe I can put it over. I have no confidence. I'm going to go into that room and I'm going to choke."
Wow, he was pre-playing the failure movie in his head.
Exactly. He was literally repelling success because he was broadcasting failure. He was convinced he was inferior to the moment.
So what did Peele do? I mean, usually he'd give someone a pep talk. He'd say, "You got this, champ. Go get him." Something like that.
Peele didn't do that. He knew a pep talk wears off in an hour. He treated this condition like a disease. He told the man, "I'm going to give you a formula, and you have to take it just like medicine. If I gave you a pill, you'd take it every 4 hours." Right? Well, this is a mental pill.
A mental pill. And what was it?
It was a line from the Bible, Philippians 4:13. "I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me."
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here for a second. That's a very famous verse. It's on bumper stickers. It's on athlete shoes. How does just saying a Bible verse fix a complex psychological inferiority complex?
That is the key question. And it wasn't about the verse as some kind of magic spell. It was about the method of application. Peele told him, "I don't want you to just read it. I want you to say it while you're walking down the street tonight. Say it repeatedly before you go to sleep so it sinks into your subconscious. Say it 3 times when you wake up. Say it on the way to the meeting."
So it's about repetition. It's about brute force, brainwashing yourself.
In a positive way, yes. Peele was very focused on the mechanism of the subconscious mind. He believed, and modern psychology largely backs this up, that the subconscious is literal. It accepts whatever you feed it as absolute truth. If you walk around all day saying, "I'm done for, I'm going to fail," your subconscious says, "Okay, command received. Let's shut down the creative centers. Let's spike the cortisol. Let's make him stutter."
It's just fulfilling the order you gave it.
Precisely. But if you feed it, "I can do all things. I have strength. I have power," over and over and over again, eventually the subconscious accepts that as the new truth. It's cognitive restructuring. Peele was basically doing cognitive behavioral therapy before it was even a mainstream term.
And what happened to the businessman? Did the pill actually work?
It did. He committed to it. He saturated his mind with that one thought. He walked into that meeting, squared his shoulders, and he closed the deal. Later, he reported that the simple formula did wonders. He said he felt the fear just evaporate. He realized that his inferiority complex was just a ghost. It was the tall grass in the rough. It looked scary, but once he changed his mental state, he could cut right through it.
It's fascinating because it connects to something Peele quotes from William James, the famous psychologist. James said the greatest discovery of his generation was that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind.
That's the foundational thesis right there. And Peele takes it a step further. He suggests that this isn't just about feeling better. It's about power generation. He has this whole concept about how a peaceful mind actually generates power.
See, that seems counterintuitive. We usually think of power as high energy, high intensity, maybe even a little aggression, the Wolf of Wall Street vibe, you know? But Peele says you need peace to have power.
He does. He argues that a mind that's frantic, anxious, and noisy is like a motor that's overheating. It's burning fuel, sure, but it's not producing efficient movement. It's just vibrating itself to pieces.
He uses a great phrase that I think every single person listening can relate to. He talks about getting an earful of trouble.
Oh, that's a classic anecdote. He tells the story of a man who came to him saying he was exhausted all the time and just couldn't sleep. Peele asked him what his evening routine was. The man said, "Well, I get home, I eat dinner, and then I tune in the news. And last night, I sure got an earful of trouble."
That is literally all of us. We lie in bed, the lights are off, and we're doom scrolling. We're reading about the economy crashing, wars breaking out, political scandals. We are just shoveling trouble into our brains right before we try to power down.
Right. And Peale explains the mechanics of this. He says that when you dump all that negativity into your mind right before sleep, it doesn't just sit there. It sinks into the subconscious. It
Right.
ferments. It festers. So while you're sleeping, your subconscious is just chewing on this ear full of trouble. No wonder you wake up tired. You've been fighting wars in your sleep.
So what's the fix? Because we can't just ignore the world. The news is the news.
Peale suggests a technique he calls mental emptying. It's a visualization exercise. He suggests you practice this at least twice a day. You sit quietly and you actually visualize your worries, your fears, your insecurities draining out of your head.
Like a fluid.
Exactly. Visualize it like murky water flowing out of a faucet.
Hmm.
Or visualize opening a valve in your mind and letting the pressure escape.
Yeah.
You have to consciously evict the negative thoughts.
But there's a catch here, right? I remember reading that you can't just leave the mind empty.
Correct. This is a crucial point. He says, nature abhors a vacuum. If you empty out the worry and just leave that mental space blank, the worry will rush right back in to fill the void. And usually, it comes back with more force. It's like a suction effect. You have to refill the mind immediately.
And you refill it with the good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peale suggests visualizing peaceful scenes. He was big on nature imagery. Visualize moonlight on rippling water. Visualize the silence of a deep forest with the sun filtering through the leaves. Or, if you aren't visual, fill it with positive affirmations.
He talks a lot about the silence factor. He argues that noise, both literal noise like traffic and sirens, and mental noise like anxiety destroys efficiency. That silence heals.
He makes a great point that our forefathers knew the silence of the forest or the plains. They had these natural resets. Modern people are constantly bombarded. We are never in silence. Peale argues that finding that pocket of silence isn't just a spiritual practice, it's a productivity hack. If you can create a center of quiet inside yourself, then no matter what is happening outside, the deadlines, the screaming kids, the stock market, you have a peaceful core that generates power. You aren't leaking energy into all that noise.
Let's move on to one of his most famous systems. If you look up this book, this is the thing that always pops up. It's a 3-step formula that he claims works for business, personal problems, really anything. He calls it prioritize, picturize, actualize.
This is the core engine of his philosophy. And again, even if you're not religious, the psychology behind this is incredibly sound. Let's break it down. Step 1, prioritize.
Okay, so this is the talking it out phase.
Right. Peale suggests talking to God not as some distant, scary judge on a throne, but like a senior partner in your business. You discuss the problem. You lay it out. Here's the situation. Here's what I'm worried about. By articulating it, you stop carrying the burden alone. You share the weight.
Okay, step 2, picturize. This is the one I find really fascinating because it feels so modern. Athletes do this all the time now.
Peale was way ahead of his time on visualization. He says you must create a specific, clear mental image of the outcome you desire. You have to see it.
But most people do the exact opposite, don't they?
We do. We're masters of picturizing failure. When you have a big presentation, what do you visualize? You visualize tripping on the stage. You visualize forgetting your lines. You visualize the audience looking bored on their phones.
Guilty. I do that. I visualize the worst case scenario so I can prepare for it.
That's the trap. Peale says when you hold a picture of failure in your mind, you are instructing your subconscious to deliver failure. Your brain tries to align reality with the image you're holding. If you picture a slice into the rough, your body will actually adjust your swing to produce a slice.
So you have to print the success picture on the mind.
Yes. You hold that picture of success tenaciously. You don't let it fade. You surrender the problem, but you keep the image of the solution crystal clear. And then, step 3, actualize. He argues that the result just naturally follows the picture. The physical reality conforms to the mental pattern.
He uses a great sports analogy here involving a trapeze artist. This one really stuck with me because it's so visceral.
The holdout athlete, yes. This is a story about a trapeze artist who had a specific trick, a big leap to a high bar. And suddenly he lost his nerve. He started missing. He was terrified of falling. And in trapeze, if you hesitate for even a fraction of a second, you miss the bar. It's just physics.
So his career was on the line, maybe his life.
His instructor told him something profound. He said, the problem is you are trying to catch the bar with your hands. You need to throw your heart over the bar, and your body will follow.
Throw your heart over the bar. Wow, that is such a poetic line, but what does it actually mean?
It means you have to project your spiritual essence, your belief, your total commitment over the obstacle first. If your heart, your core belief is already on the other side of the bar, the physical body has no choice but to catch up. The body follows the mind. If your mind is stuck on the platform, your body will never make the jump.
That is a perfect transition to our next big concept, which is expect the best and get it. This is similar to picturizing, but it deals more with the overall attitude of expectation. You've got to tell the story of the vacuum cleaner saleswoman.
I love this story because door-to-door sales is probably the hardest job in the world. You're literally signing up for rejection all day long.
It's a nightmare. Knock, rejection, knock, door slam, knock, dog barks.
So here was this woman selling vacuum cleaners, and she was failing miserably, barely making a living. And she came to Peale and explained her process. She said, I walk up to a house, I look at the shabby porch, I look at the messy yard, and I think, these people don't want a vacuum, they probably can't afford it, they won't let me in, I'm going to get rejected.
She was writing the script before she even rang the bell.
Exactly. She was radiating what Peale calls repulsion. He argues that thoughts are things. If you walk up to a door expecting the worst, your shoulders are slumped, your voice is apologetic, your eyes are downcast, people open the door, they see that energy, and they instinctively want to close the door. You're driving them away.
So she changed her mantra.
She did. She realized she was defeating herself. She started using the phrase, if God be for me, who can be against me? She started approaching every single door, expecting to make a sale. She visualized the person opening the door and being happy to see her. She visualized the vacuum solving their problem.
Yeah, the results.
The shift was almost immediate. She became a top salesperson. Now, did the vacuum cleaners change? No. Did the territory change?
No.
The economy didn't change. The only variable that changed was her expectation.
She magnetized her condition.
That's the term. Peale says when you expect the best, you create a magnetic field that attracts the best. It sounds mystical, but think about it practically. If someone walks up to you with a big, genuine smile, confident, expecting you to like them, you usually do. You reflect that energy back. If they walk up acting like you're going to hit them, you feel uncomfortable and you want to get away.
Now, we've been talking a lot about the mind, but Peale devotes a significant portion of the book to the body. He believes there's a direct, hardwired connection between your thoughts and your physical health.
This is where he brings in the physicians. Remember, this was the 1950s. The idea of psychosomatic illness, illness caused by the mind, was gaining huge traction. He argues that we rarely get tired from actual physical work. Unless you're digging ditches all day, your fatigue isn't physical, it's emotional.
He calls them energy leaks.
Boredom, resentment, frustration, anger. These are leaks in your tank.
Yeah.
If you spend all day being angry at your boss or resentful of your spouse, you are burning massive amounts of energy.
I found the clock analogy really interesting here. He compares the old grandfather clock to the modern desk clock.
It's a brilliant metaphor for the high-tempo trap of modern life. He says, look at an old grandfather clock. It has a long, heavy pendulum. It swings slowly, tick, tock. Seems to say, plenty of time. It's relaxed.
And then there's the little cheap desk clock.
The modern clock, it has that fast, frantic tick, 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 tick. Time to get busy, hurry up. Peale says we've internalized that frantic tempo. We're vibrating at that high frequency.
We're fuming and fretting.
And that fuming and fretting produces toxins. He quotes physicians who claim that anger makes you sick. Guilt drains energy. If you're harboring a grudge, you are literally poisoning your own bloodstream. You're tightening your muscles, constricting your blood flow, spiking your blood pressure. You are doing actual physical damage to your body with your thoughts.
So what's the cure for the energy leak? How do we stop the frantic ticking?
He goes back to the spiritual. He uses the analogy of an electric clock. If you unplug an electric clock, it stops. It has no power of its own. It's just a mechanism. It needs the current. Peale argues humans are the same. We try to run on our own battery power, our own ego, our own limited strength, and we run out. We need to be plugged into the divine energy.
Interesting. So he suggests treating this almost like a mechanical process. Plug it in, open the channel.
Yes. He talks about surrendering to that energy, visualizing it flowing through you like electricity. He believes the universe is just awash in this dynamic energy, and we block it with our tension and our small, tight, angry thoughts. If you relax and plug in, the energy flows and you don't get tired.
It's interesting because he doesn't just leave these as abstract ideas. The book is incredibly practical. He gives these little toolkits in every chapter. I want to go through a few of the most actionable ones because this is where the rubber meets the road.
Let's do it. These are the things listeners can actually try today.
Okay, first, the card technique. We touched on this with the businessman, but let's be specific.
It's simple but really effective. Peale says our minds are constantly chattering. We need to interrupt the pattern. So write your affirmation like, I can do all things. Or the rough is only mental on a card. Put it on your shaving mirror so it's the first thing you see. Put one in your wallet. Put one on your desk.
And the instruction is to read it aloud.
Yes, read it aloud 10 times a day. There's something about hearing your own voice say it that really reinforces it. It's all about saturation. You have to drown out the negative inner voice with a louder, positive voice.
Okay, then there's the worry day strategy. This one made me laugh out loud, but I can see why it works.
It's genius. Peale says, okay, you like to worry, fine. I won't tell you to stop worrying because that's impossible. But don't do it all day long. Schedule it.
Put it in your calendar.
Exactly. Set aside, say, 4:00 p.m. to 4:15 p.m. on Wednesday. That is your designated worry time. If a worry pops up on Tuesday morning, oh no, what if the car breaks down? You say to yourself, nope, not now. I'll worry about that on Wednesday at 4 p.m.
It's procrastination, but for anxiety.
It is, and what usually happens when Wednesday at 4.0 rolls around.
I assume you forget what you were even worried about.
Either the worry has just evaporated because it wasn't real, or you feel silly sitting there trying to force yourself to be anxious for 15 minutes. It breaks the habit of constant low-level anxiety that runs in the background of our lives.
All right, then we have the jellyfish relaxation method.
This is for physical tension. You sit in a chair and you try to collapse your body completely. He says to visualize yourself as a jellyfish. No bones, no structure, just floating.
I think he also used the image of a burlap bag of potatoes.
Yes. A burlap bag with the bottom cut out. Imagine the potatoes, which represent your muscles and your tension, just rolling out of the bag and onto the floor. It sounds odd, but if you try it right now, just drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, let the potatoes roll out. You can actually feel the relief.
I'm doing it right now. I'm a bag of potatoes.
And it works. We hold so much tension without even realizing it.
One more practical tool, the vacuum cleaner conversation method. This is for dealing with other people's negativity.
Right. We all have that person in the office or the family who is just a gloomy Gus. Every time you talk to them, they complain. Peale suggests that instead of fighting them or trying to cheer them up immediately, you use questions to suck the dust out of their minds.
You act like a vacuum.
Say, tell me more. Why do you feel that way? Get it all out. You let them vent. You draw it all out until they're empty.
And then?
Once they're empty, you quietly suggest positive ideas to refill the vacuum. You don't argue. You just replace. It's a way of managing the emotional environment around you so you don't get infected by their negativity.
I want to pivot to some of the deeper discussion points this book raises. One thing that stands out is Peale's view of the Bible and religion. We've mentioned it a few times, but he doesn't really talk about it like a theologian, does he?
No, he really doesn't.
Yeah.
And this is why he was actually criticized by some religious leaders at the time. They thought he was watering down religion. Peale views the Bible almost as a scientific textbook for human nature.
That is a fascinating distinction.
He argues that faith isn't just a mystical virtue for Sunday mornings. It's a force, like gravity or electricity or atomic energy. He believes there are spiritual laws just like there are laws of physics. If you apply the law like, ask and ye shall receive, you get the result. It's very transactional in a way.
It reminds me of engineering. Input X, you get output Y. If you input faith, you output power.
Exactly. He believes the mechanism works whether you're a saint or a sinner, as long as you follow the rules of the mechanism.
And that brings us to this central tension in the book, the debate that I think is most relevant today, attitudes versus facts.
We started with this with the golf story. The fact of the grass versus the attitude toward the grass.
Peale has a famous quote, "Attitudes are more important than facts." Now, I have to push back on this. To a skeptic, that sounds delusional. If I'm bankrupt, that's a fact. My bank account is zero. My attitude doesn't put money in the bank. If I have a broken leg, my attitude doesn't knit the bone. Facts are stubborn things.
They are. And Peale doesn't deny the existence of facts. He doesn't say the grass isn't there. He says the grass is there. But he argues that your attitude toward the fact determines whether the fact defeats you or whether you overcome it.
Can you give an example?
He tells a story about a man who came to him completely defeated. He had lost his business, his savings, everything. He pulled out a piece of paper and listed all his bad breaks. There's a list of facts. No money, no job, debt. Peale took the paper and said, let's make a new list. Is your wife still with you? The man said, yes, she's wonderful. Peale wrote that down. Are your children healthy? Yes. Do you have your health? Yes. Do you live in a free country? Yes.
So he reframed the assets.
He shifted the man's focus from what was lost to what remained. With a defeated attitude, the bankruptcy is the end of the story. It's a tragedy. With a positive attitude, the bankruptcy is a painful chapter. But the remaining assets, the wife, the health, the freedom, are the seeds of the comeback. The fact of the bankruptcy didn't change, but the outcome of the man's life changed entirely based on his attitude.
So the attitude determines the consequence of the fact.
Exactly. If you believe the fact defeats you, it will. If you believe the fact is a challenge to be solved, you will solve it.
There's also a really interesting section on likability and ego. Peale is very clear. To be successful, people have to like you. You can't be a jerk and succeed, at least not in the long run.
He is very pragmatic about that. He says you can't force success. You need people to open doors for you. And his secret to likability is the opposite of what many ambitious people do.
Right. Usually, ambitious people try to impress everyone. Look how smart I am. Look at my resume.
They try to dominate the room. Peale says, don't try to be the smartest person in the room. Don't be the one who always has to top someone else's story. If someone tells a joke, don't say, oh, I heard that one.
That's the worst.
Laugh. Build up their ego. He says the secret is to be a comfortable person. Be like an old shoe or an old hat. Be someone people can be around without feeling strain. If you're constantly trying to prove your superiority, you're creating tension. If you build others up, they love you for it, and they will want to help you succeed.
It's really about humility as a social lubricant.
That is a great way to put it. Humility not as weakness, but as a strategy for connection. If you make people feel good about themselves, they will make you successful.
We have covered so much ground here. We've got the rough being only mental, the power of picturizing, the vacuum cleaner saleswoman, the jellyfish relaxation. This book is dense with tools. As we start to wrap up, I want to hit a few memorable quotes that really stick.
There are so many. The one that always stays with me is, I have decided to be happy. It's from a man Peale met on a train. It just emphasizes that happiness is a decision, not a reaction to circumstances. You don't wait for good things to happen to be happy. You decide to be happy, and then good things happen.
And the one about obstacles, the rough is only mental. That's going to be my mantra next time I'm stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult email.
And for the bold moments, the trapeze quote, throw your heart over the bar and your body will follow. That is the definition of commitment. Don't hold back, commit first, and the ability will follow.
So what does this all mean for us today? We live in a cynical world. We live in a complex world. Is this simple, positive thinking still relevant?
I think it's more relevant than ever. Look, we can't control the economy. We can't control the weather. We can't control who is in the White House. We can't control other people. We feel very out of control.
And that causes a lot of anxiety.
Right. But the power of positive thinking reminds us that we have total control over one thing, our own thought patterns, you and your mind.
It's about house cleaning.
Yes, flushing out the old, dead, unhealthy thoughts, the fear, the inferiority, the cynicism, and deliberately, systematically replacing them with new, vital, dynamic faith thoughts. It's a manual for mental hygiene. If you don't clean your house, it gets dirty. If you don't clean your mind, it gets dirty.
For our listeners who want to try this out, who want to test if this mechanic knows what he's talking about, we have an actionable insight for you. A challenge.
Try the 24-hour optimism challenge. It sounds easy, but I warn you, it's actually quite tough.
What are the rules?
For the next 24 hours, you're going to deliberately speak, hopefully, about everything. Everything. Your job, your health, your family, the weather, the news.
Everything. Even if it's raining and I have a flat tire.
Everything. If a negative thought comes, and it will, you have to stop it immediately. Do not verbalize it. Instead, you have to verbalize a positive one to replace it. I have a flat tire, but I'm thankful I have a spare and that I'm safe.
That sounds exhausting, honestly.
It is at first, because you're fighting a lifelong habit. But just see how your energy levels change by the end of the day. I suspect you'll find that when you stop leaking energy into frustration and negativity, you have a reserve of power you didn't know existed.
That is a challenge I am definitely going to take. I might need to put a reminder on my phone, but I'm going to try it. Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking. It's a classic for a reason.
Absolutely. It teaches us that if you change your thoughts, you really can change your world.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time, keep your heart over the bar.
And remember, the rough is only mental.
Take care, everyone.